So welcome everyone to our site webinar. We are excited as always to have you with us today. Before we begin, I would like to invite you to some of our upcoming webinars. The first one, September 8th, we have Chris Burrand, who will be discussing some innovative approaches to adult learning in the insurance space. And October 13th, Wake Me When It's Over. Why so many presentations, I'll say, stink, and why yours don't have to. So this is presented by Greg Gray. And during this webinar, we'll learn some strategies and some techniques to help you become a more confident and more effective presenter. So we look forward to that, to seeing you there. And before you, let's see. I'm going to stop for a moment and share my screen. Sorry about that. So before you should see a list of all the benefits of being a site member. And there are so many benefits of site membership. We would love for you to get more involved. Site is a great place where you can network and build relationships, as many of us are doing now. And always plugging for more help. If you'd like to present a webinar or a panel discussion or any other programs, please contact us. Connect with any of us on LinkedIn from the programs team. And of course, contact us on the website through insurancetrainers.org. And now for today's main event, I'd like to introduce our presenter, Tredessa Travers. So Tredessa is joining us with 20 years of insurance industry experience. She's currently the senior garage adjuster at Atlantic Casualty Insurance Company. Tredessa is also on the board of her local CPCU Society chapter in Richmond, Virginia. She's a member of the Claims Interest Group, the Interest Group Roadshow Group, as well as the Publications Committee. And of course, she's a member of Site. And Tredessa rather just completed the Train the Trainer this year through Site. So congratulations. Among her many other accomplishments, Tredessa will be presenting this year at Into Risk in October. So we're looking forward to hearing more from you there.
Thank you.
And I'll let you, when you're ready, Tredessa, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Okay, can everyone see that okay?
Looks great.
Can you see the slide? Okay. All right. Thank you, Sandy. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for being here. Thank you to Site for having me. And thank you again, Sandy, for that introduction. As Sandy said, my name is Tredessa Travers, and I am happy to have this opportunity to share my customer service experience and claims experience with you all today. So I will go ahead and get started. And this slide, positive language, which is what I will be presenting today, learning to effectively communicate with customers. All right. So as Sandy mentioned, my name is Tredessa Travers. I've been in the insurance claims industry for a little over 20 years. Before I actually started in the insurance industry, I did work in a call center environment with customer service. So I have really over 20 years of customer service experience. And currently I am a senior garage adjuster at Atlantic Casualty Insurance. So first I want to talk about the purpose of this presentation and positive language. First would be to diffuse anger. So I will give some tips on calming down angry customers and effective ways to do that. Next, I'll go over explaining options effectively. So I'll go into more detail about that later, but I've learned that the majority of us like options. We like to know that we have options, right? So I'll also go over how to effectively use those options as a positive language tool. And then persuasion. Pretty much every customer service job requires some form of persuasion. And since I am a claims girl, my examples will include more claim-oriented conversations and situations such as recorded interviews. I put DRP, which is a direct repair offer, explaining to customers if they're at fault or delivering bad news. But keep in mind that these tips can be used for any customer service conversation and interaction. So if you all can please place in the chat whether you believe that this is true, that it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And there's no offense if you don't believe that that's true. Just, you can be honest. As a matter of fact, while you're putting that in the chat, a conference that I attended last year, one of the speakers had stated that gave everyone a chuckle. They said, there's a way that you can tell someone to go to hell where they will look forward to the trip. And Sandy, what is everyone saying in the chat? How many or what responses do we have in there?
So yeah, so thanks. We've got absolutely agree with you, everyone so far. Morgan says about 70%. Yeah, I think it's probably situational, right? Kristen says intent versus impact. Yeah.
Okay.
We got a yes. Some people say all the time. Mike's grandma always said this, so
yes.
grandma's rarely wrong, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. Okay, good. That's good to hear that. So I want to start with an exercise. I'm sure some of you may already be familiar with this. So I'll start reading the sentence and emphasize one word, and then ask you to interpret or to place in the chat how you interpret that sentence as I have read it. And then I will ask, after I've done my portion of the sentence, I will ask if someone else can come off of mute and read the sentence again to emphasize another word. So I'll go ahead and start and read the sentence by saying, I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday. So when I read the sentence with the emphasis on I, how do you interpret that? So if I say, I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday, what else could that mean, or what does that mean? And you can place that in the chat. What do we have, Sandy? I see you shaking your head.
So you're right. The sentiment is, well, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It must have been somebody else.
Exactly. So that could mean, I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday, but my friend did. So that could have different meanings, when you emphasize I. Now, if I could have a volunteer to come off mute to read the same sentence with the emphasis on the word above the two. Do I have any volunteers?
I'll do it. This is Nicole Johnson.
Thank you, Nicole.
I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday.
Okay. And in the chat, if you all can tell me your interpretation of how Nicole read the sentence with the emphasis on steal. So the emphasis on steal rather than when I read it and said I. What do we have, Sandy?
Yeah, so, yeah, but I borrowed it or borrowed it without asking.
Exactly.
Um,
So I didn't, oh, go ahead.
Oh, someone, Nancy said maybe you lost it. You
Maybe
could have
lost
borrowed
it.
or lost it. Yeah.
Yep. I didn't steal your
Mhm.
brother's bike yesterday, but I lost it. I broke it.
Mhm. Yeah.
I painted it.
Yeah.
That can have a lot of
Yeah.
different meanings, right?
True.
Okay. And can I have another volunteer to read the same sentence with the third emphasis on the word above the three? Any volunteers? And thank you, Nicole, by the way.
I will.
Thank you, Jen.
I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday.
Thank you. All right. So in the chat, how would you all interpret how Jen read that sentence with the emphasis on brothers? So I didn't steal, she said, I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday. And Sandy, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
you all, I can't see the chat while I'm
Yeah.
presenting.
Yeah,
So Sandy's helping
love
me
the
out.
chat. Yeah. I got some sarcasm there. That sounded sarcastic when we say it that way. It was someone else's bike. I didn't steal it. I sold it. I stole someone else's. And
Right.
Jen said she stole a bunch of bikes, but not your brother's. So there's the silver lining.
Exactly. Yep. So that's exactly right. So I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday, but maybe you stole someone else's bike. And then the last word, if I can get a volunteer to read the sentence one more time. And thank you, Jen, by the way.
I can do it. My screen was frozen. This is Emily.
Okay, thank you, Emily.
Hi. So I didn't steal your brother's bike yesterday.
Thank you. All right, and if you all can place in the chat your interpretation with the emphasis on yesterday. So Emily said, I didn't steal your bike yesterday. And what do we have in the chat, Sandy?
So yeah, Mike stole it 2 days ago, though. We've got some different times. Nicole tried to steal it last week. Sue did steal it last week, different days. A month ago.
Right.
It wasn't yesterday. You had it wrong.
Exactly. Because maybe this person, just realized it was stolen yesterday, but you stole it, but it was actually a month ago. So that could have a lot of different meanings. And thank you all for participated, because this just goes to show how emphasis on one word for the exact same sentence can have so many different meanings. Now, with claims, as I've already explained, I'm a claims girl. So one of the tools that I learned very early in my career is, when you're receiving receiving a call or talking to someone, it's because they have to report that usually something bad has happened. So you should always begin with some form of empathy. And that's not only just for claims more so because you are dealing with a lot of customers that have had something terrible happen. But excuse me, it's always just good to show empathy when you're talking to someone. So in a claims example, I'm sorry to hear about your accident. Is everyone okay? Because keep in mind that nowadays, customers can go online and they can, submit information. And if they're calling you and you say, okay, what's your name? What's your policy number? What's your claim number? That's something that they can give to a computer online. So I say that to say, present the human touch present empathy. That's what makes us different from computers and filing things online, right? All right. And now going into the subjects on for the purpose. So diffusing an angry customer. The very first piece of advice that I would like to state is to let them vent. Sometimes a customer just wants to be heard, or they feel like no one is listening, no one has listened to them. A lot of times they've called several times and have not gotten any resolution. So if you receive, or if you talk to a customer, just let them vent. Do not interrupt. And I know that can be hard. Sometimes that's hard for me because I have a tendency to want to respond as soon as I hear something. But you have to keep in mind, just let them express what they want to express. If you have to write down notes to respond to them after they've finished, that's fine. Just let them get it out first. And then also, don't take it personal. Usually they're not mad at you, they're mad at a situation or a process. And I have to give people credit that for the most part, we're all rational beings, right? So we have to, if we can learn to help each other understand why a certain process is the way that it is, then usually they will understand. So I wrote in this slide, for instance, when a certain decision is made and a claim, is being denied. So an example that I have where I've actually explained this to a customer, they're like, hey, why aren't you paying, for my claim? I wasn't at fault. Your person ran a red light. And I've had to explain, well, you're telling me they ran a red light. My person is telling me you ran the red light, and there are no witnesses, there are no cameras. There's no way to prove who ran the red light. And then I also put the ball in their court. If you have any evidence that I've missed, please let me know, which usually they don't. But I say that to say, let them know, hey, here's the rationale of how we came to the decision. And 9 times out of 10, they will understand. Of course, you have the unreasonable person every now and then, but for the most part, if you explain the rationale, they will understand that. And then I also wrote, apologize and move on to a solution. If it's, if an apology, is necessary, just do that and move on. I've heard associates say, well, I told you to do this and you didn't do it. And that may even be true, but is that resolving the problem? Probably not. Just move on and say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't get that information. How soon can you get that to me so that we can resolve your issue? Arguing back and forth, like I said, usually doesn't solve anything, and dwelling on the problem is not going to solve it either. Just think of a solution and focus on that. All right, effectively explaining the options available. So I have learned that, and this is myself included, a lot of people like options. They don't always like being told what to do, but they like having options. So try to find as many ways as you can for their situation where they do have an option. So I wrote as an example, an inspection. So I can let a person know, hey, we need to see, the damage to your car to find out how much it's going to cost. You can either, your options are, if you can send me a few pictures, we can take a look at it and find that out. Or if you want to take it to your shop, your shop can send us the information. Or if you want us to send someone out to inspect it, we can do that as well. So that way they know that they have a choice. And then I also wrote as another example, first call settlements for bodily injuries. So a lot of times I have to have the conversation because they want, they're injured, they want to be paid right away, right? So, but that's unfortunately not the process of how that works. So I have to let them know, well, here are your options. I can either send you a certain amount today, or we can wait until you have fully recovered and you're all better. And then I can send you a payment at the end. And usually, and sometimes I may have to tell a customer this, sometimes not, but the amount that, they would be given that day is unknown because we don't know how many medical bills they're going to have. We don't know when they're going to get better. So, but it puts the ball again in their court. I know I'm saying that a lot. I'm sorry. It puts the ball in their court and lets them know they have that option and they have that control of when they are paid for their claim. All right. The compliment sandwich. I don't know how many of you are familiar with this term, but it's one that I have used very frequently, and it's very good for effectively communicating with customers. As a matter of fact, I first learned about this in college. My roommate asked me to take notes for her for one of her human resource courses. So that's where I first actually learned about the compliment sandwich. So basically what that is you deliver the good news first, then the bad news, then the good news. So the bread in the sandwich is the good news, right? So, and you're also ending the conversation or what you're saying on a good note. So I put an example in here, a claims example. So you have, collision coverage on your policy. That's good news, right? I could be telling them they don't have any coverage. So the good news is that they have collision coverage on their policy. The bad news would be that they have a $1,000 deductible. And then turn around with the good news. Once we receive evidence that you're not at fault, we will try to refund your deductible back to you. A lot of interactions that I have had, they don't understand, and rightfully so. Why do I have to pay $1,000 if I'm not at fault for this accident? You all are my insurance. And sometimes there are some cases where a deductible can be waived. That's a whole other claims conversation. But excuse me, in cases where it does apply, you want to let them know, hey, we understand that you're probably not at fault, but this deductible applies, but keep in mind that we're going to try to get that back for you. And then that way, that's the last thing that they hear, that you're going to try to refund it, not that they have to pay $1,000. Persuasion. So with persuasion, and I put an example in here, a lot of times, and this is really for any customer service situation as well, a customer is upset because they have to give you information that you should already have. I've come across that even before I started working in insurance. So if you already have the information and they have to present it or give it again, or they have to repeat it, just let them know. Well, first of all, you can, apologize if you feel that that's necessary, and let them know that you want to verify it or you want to confirm it. Yeah, I probably have your name and address right in front of me, but can I at least confirm that I am talking to the correct person by verifying your name and address? That is actually going to go a long way because it at least lets them know why you have to ask them for the same information that you already have. You want to identify that they are who they are, right? So I believe that that's my form of persuading someone to give you information that they're not very happy about giving to you. All right, next subject, softening the blow. So one of the things, and these are just some terms that I've learned along the years in being in insurance and especially in claims. When in the insurance industry, like I said, I learned early that the insurance company, and especially your customer, your insured, you're a we. So if your insured is at fault, the insurance company is at fault too. That's a we situation. And I've found that when it's presented that way, it lets the customer feel that you're in this together. They're not out there on their own. You're not blaming them to say you're at fault. You did this. If you're explaining it to them that we are going to have to pay for the damage to the other vehicle, it keeps from pointing the finger at them, and that again that you're in this together. So the phrases that I listed in this slide. So we have not received any evidence in your favor. We will have to pay for / accept responsibility for the other person's damages / injuries from this accident. The third sentence that I placed in there is putting the ball in their court. So do you have any evidence that would support your description of what happened? And then another example of softening the blow. Unfortunately, there is not coverage on this policy. And this is not a we situation sentence, by the way, but unfortunately, there is not coverage on this policy to defend you in this lawsuit, but I encourage you to retain your own counsel to defend you in this matter. That's more of an option type or way of softening the blow. So that's letting them know, because you're delivering bad news, right? Hey, you were served a lawsuit and we can't do anything about it. There's no coverage. But if you let them know, hey, you may want to contact an attorney and they will be able to help you with this lawsuit. All right, so I have another exercise for you to place in the chat. So how would you rephrase this sentence? So this would be from, you know, a customer service agent or adjuster. You haven't called me back and the police report puts you at fault for this accident. We are paying the other driver's claim. How would you soften that blow? And I'll give about a minute or two to type that in. So this is an associate telling someone, you haven't called me back and the police report puts you at fault for the accident. We're paying for the other driver's claim. Anything in the chat yet, Sandy?
I think everyone is thinking it through.
Yeah.
Let's see. So Morgan has a response. Do you want me to? Yeah. So, okay. So Morgan, do you want to come off mute and state
Yeah,
yours?
please.
Sure.
Thanks.
I don't have my camera on because I've been sick. So sorry, but
Sorry.
Fine.
oh gosh, hold on, it's going away. It's going away. We have received the police report finding you at fault for the accident. Unfortunately, without your response with differing information, we must pay the claim.
Okay. All right. I like
Call me
that.
back.
Great. Yeah, call
I
me
didn't say
back.
that.
And this is a very common claim situation. You know, you don't hear from the person and, you know, everything you have, you know, is showing that you have to pay the other person's claim. Any
Yeah.
other thoughts? And I should have
Yeah.
asked if someone else wants to come off of mute.
Yeah, Nicole has one here as well. Did you want to read that
Sure.
one, Nicole?
Sure. I've been investigating the accident and I'd like to hear your version of lost details before I make a final determination for liability. We will have to make a decision based on the information available, and your statement is very important.
Very good. I like that.
Just as a
Thank
side
you.
too, I like to explain to people that the police officer wasn't there.
Right.
And so
Mhm.
I have a police report and I'm not making a liability decision based on that report. That's just a tool. And anything they would be able to add to provide clarity would be appreciated because they were actually involved.
Exactly.
Mhm.
I like it. Thank
Great.
you.
We have a lot more. We have 6 more responses. Would anyone like to share theirs and come off mute?
Yeah, if we can hear at least about one or two, or
Mhm.
about one or two more responses.
Okay. About any takers? Jen?
Okay. I actually, I like Nicole's better than what I came up with, but, you know, we've collected all the information available. We feel a defense would be unsuccessful, so we're going to take care of the other party's damages and get releases to protect you.
Okay, I
Mhm.
like
You
that.
can't be
Thank you.
dragged through the mud, but you know.
You're right. No,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Thank
Yeah.
you. And one more. Anyone else want to read theirs? If not, I can move on, but anyone else want to volunteer to read theirs?
I will. I liked some others better too, but I wrote, hello, we're sorry we haven't heard from you. We'd like to discuss the police report as it shows you at fault. We want to give you an opportunity to discuss your side before paying the other driver's claim.
Yes, thank you.
Well,
Those are all really good. Thank you very much for sharing. So and this is a long paragraph answer. I am going to read it, but how I have rephrased that in the past is we have received a copy of the attached police report, which usually will be mailed or emailed to them with this phrase, which states that you were responsible for this accident. Based on this evidence, we will have to pay for the damages caused to the other party involved. If you have any questions or would like to provide any additional information / evidence for us to consider, please contact me. Otherwise, I am informing you that we have accepted responsibility and will pay for the claim presented by the other party. Now, this is more of a finalization. You know, all the examples that were given, you know, by our volunteers, thank you, are all acceptable. Excuse me. So I want to make sure that that just states that there are different ways that the same information can be presented in a way that doesn't sound threatening, right? All right. And I do have a video that a very short video that I would like you all to take a look at. Is anyone familiar with this movie, The Rainmaker? Very good movie based off of, I believe it's off of a John Grisham novel,
Mhm.
I believe, right?
Right.
Okay. I haven't seen it in years, and I won't give away too much information about the movie if you haven't seen it, but it's basically about an attorney that's going against an insurance legal team for a claim. So I want to play, let's see if I can play this. Give me 1 second. I think, oh, it popped up on the same screen. Okay. And hopefully you all can hear it.
July 7th, 1996. Reed, policy.
Can you all hear it?
78499009886. Dear Mrs. Black, on 7 prior occasions, this company has denied your claim in writing. We now deny it for the 8th and final time. You must be stupid, stupid, stupid. Sincerely, Everett Lufkin, Vice President, Claims Department.
All right. Can you all hear me? Okay. How's that for a denial letter? Not very good, right? Not very gentle. And like I said, I won't give away too much of the movie, but this was a very serious claim, a very serious injury that this woman was dealing with her son, and to receive that type of unempathetic response regardless of how many times she filed the claim. I think the video said 8 times. Is that what it said? Denying for the 8th time. So I just wanted to play that because when I think of negative language, that is actually what comes to mind, especially, from well, in that case, it was a big bad insurance company, but so I just wanted to share that. All right. Whoops, sorry, okay, there we go. All right, and I just wanted to share this quote that I found years ago, and I came across it again on this website. So negative language conveys a poor image to customers and those around us. Sometimes it causes conflict and confrontation where none is necessary or desired. How many of you believe that? Can you put in the chat whether you believe that that's true? What, yeah, what kind of?
Yeah, you got a resounding yes. Some folks have seen it in action for sure.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So again, the purpose of this presentation was just to give some examples, some tips. Like I said, I know that a lot of these examples were more claims oriented, but this can go into any industry or level of service. And this is whether you're interacting with customers over the phone, whether it's in person. So I just want you to be able to take these tips with you and just explain that, like I said, like it says in this quote, negative language can convey a poor image, right? So we don't want to give a negative image or a poor image to our customers. And we definitely don't want to engage conflict or confrontation that can be avoided. And I'm a true believer that when you give out positivity, you can get it back, right? So that not only goes for just life in general, kind of a pay it forward, but in conversations also, you should be mimicking what you would like to get in return. All right, and that is the end of my presentation. I am going to place my information in the chat if I can get to it to copy here. But were there any questions or any examples or situations that anyone would like to share? Please feel free, come off mute.
Yeah, I know you have a few in the chat here. Jen had one. Morgan, you said you had a letter that was worse than
Mine
the
is
one in the
not
movie.
appropriate to, yeah, mine is
Okay.
not appropriate to state on
Maybe
here.
you don't want to read
Oh.
it, but
Yeah, no, it was,
Wow.
so I was a little baby adjuster. I had been doing it for about a year. And it's a really sad story. Like I tell, because I'm a, the trainer now. So like I'll tell people if it comes up, but I had a case and the guy was a volunteer firefighter. So, he's a nice person. He's volunteering and he was, trying to put out a fire. Something happened. He injured his leg. It ended up being, pretty bad infection, a severe injury. And it's workers' comp that I did. So you get like a rating at the end if you have permanent damage to that injury, if it didn't heal the whole way, and his was not going to. And he got a really big rating. It was a 60% to the leg. I still have never seen a rating that big where like they didn't lose their leg or something like that. So, we get the rating, it equates to a payment. Well, 60% would normally be a pretty big payment. But he was a volunteer. Workers' comp is based off how much you earned. So, I looked and I'm like, I don't think he's owed anything. Supervisor, you agree? Okay, let's check with our, defense attorney for that state. He confirmed, right. If that was a volunteer position, then he's only entitled to medical benefits under the claim. There would be no indemnity benefits. And so I had to tell him, unfortunately, there is no payment for this, this lasting, issue that he's going to have. Well, he got an attorney, understandably. A couple days after he got the attorney, so we got the letter, he passed away, unrelated to our claim. So I reply to this attorney and I'm saying, hey, I'm not sure if you're aware. I called him. I left him a voicemail saying, I'm not sure if you're aware, your new client, the employer just told us that he passed away. Let me know how you want to proceed. And I wait a week. I have no response. I call again, leave a very similar voicemail. Wait another week, have no response. I find his email address. And so I email him and I say, hey, I haven't heard from you on this claim. Just reiterate, he passed away. Not sure if you knew. Let me know how you want to proceed. And then at the end, I said something to the effect of, like if you're not pursuing benefits or something, like let me know if I can, and I'll close our file. Basically, it'll be done. Well, I got a response within 5 minutes, and he was swearing at me with my name. He clearly thought I was a man, so he had not listened to my voicemails because of one of the names he chose. It would not have been that for me being a female. But yeah, he called me a heartless something, and this is why people hate you. And so it was just a whole thing, and we intend to get every penny he's owed. So as soon as I sent the wage chart, which had a big old slash and 0 from the employer, I never heard from him again. But in that particular state, every communication, especially from an attorney, it goes to the state. So it was just like, well, you're an attorney, you should know this. And so the state got a copy of the letter that he sent me. So yeah, there's a nicer way he could have responded to let me know that, yes, he was aware that the guy had passed away. But he just hadn't let me know that he knew. But that was that.
Wow.
So it is framed in a corner. It's not prominent, but if people want to see it, I can pull it right out and they can see, like, yeah, this is a real thing that a real professional attorney sent to me, an adjuster, just, trying to be nice and do my job. And I felt bad for the guy,
Yeah, and thank you for sharing that. Because, especially in claims, when we have to deliver bad news and, to someone that's, that has, a bad injury. And, I even had a claim, today where it was a chef and her hand was broken and she's in her 20s. That's a horrible situation. And not anything that, it's sometimes you may not be able to say anything to someone to make them feel better. All you can do is just try the best as you can and explain and express empathy. But yeah, in that situation, Morgan, wow.
And my
Anyone,
supervisor just told me not to talk to him again, and everything
right,
went through our attorney. The end.
right. Yes. Anyone else, or is there anything else in the chat?
So I think, yeah, we have some tips here. Nancy, you had mentioned
Please.
the 4 agreements, never take things personally. I don't know if that's a book or an article, maybe.
It's a really short read book. It's really good, the 4 agreements. And
Okay.
that's one of the 4 agreements is just, it's about the other person. I had the opposite experience where I had a wonderful plaintiff attorney, and my injured passenger on a bus, when I got his medical reports, I found out he was on methadone maintenance. So I knew he was either a heroin addict or, it was way before fentanyl. And I met with him and the attorney to, discuss impairment at the time of the bus, him falling down. And the attorney was just really, really a nice guy. And the claimant was a nice young man. A few weeks later, I get a letter from the attorney, and the kid had driven into the front of a cement truck on his motorcycle. And it was just so heartbreaking. It was just, and the attorney was so distraught. And we both were. And he said, oh, all you owe is the medicals, by law. He was just, so some attorneys can be so wonderful, and then some can be so difficult. So that's my story.
Thank you for sharing. And I wrote down, did I hear the 4 agreements?
The 4 agreements. Let me see if I can find it on Amazon and put it in chat.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I wrote that down.
It's a short read, but I read it on a plane trip and just loved it.
So I think about the 4 agreements every day. So it's don't take things personally, don't make assumptions, be impeccable with your word, and do your best. And
I like that.
Just 4 short, sweet, and you can literally use those every day.
Yep, absolutely.
Thank you. And thank y'all
Wonderful.
for sharing that.
Thanks for putting the link, Nancy. Just put the link
Yes.
in as well. So yeah, thank you.
Has
and thanks,
anyone
Kim.
read this book? I don't know if you can see it. Never Split the
Uh,
Difference.
Whoop, It's
It's
going
about-
in and out. Let's
Yeah,
see.
Yeah,
well,
I can't see
it's
it.
because of my background.
Your
but,
background.
Never Split the Difference is by an FBI negotiator, and he talks about negotiation. And it is a wonderful read. And even if you're not a claims person, we all negotiate all the time.
Yes.
Underwriting, it doesn't matter. Trainers, we negotiate behavior in the classroom. So it's a great read. And
Who's
it's
the
about,
author?
The author is Chris Voss, VOSS. I'll put it in chat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I got the, thanks, Nate. I got the title and the author there. I don't know if you have I'm sure we can find it on Amazon as well.
And I found
Great.
it used, so even better.
Thank you for sharing that. I wrote that
Yeah.
one down too.
Mhm.
All right. Any
Great.
other questions or examples that anyone wants to share?
Well, Tredessa, I
All
know
right.
you had your LinkedIn contacts.
Yeah,
in
I
the
was trying
chat.
to copy it in there,
Mhm.
but I don't know if it actually copied the link or it looked a little weird when
Mhm. Yeah,
when
but
I put it in
please,
there.
yeah, please reach out and connect.
There we go. That's better.
There you go. Oh, thank you. Very
But
good.
yes, please feel free to contact me if you all have any questions or anything about the slideshow or examples or anything. I'm absolutely more than welcome to it. And thank you all for sharing and for those of you that participated in the exercise.
Yeah. Thank you so much for all your time and sharing your expertise. And we really unpacked a lot that we can use, not just in claims or training, but just in other areas of life. So we appreciate that.
Yes, thank you. And thank
Thanks,
you for
everyone.
having me.
And have a wonderful Friday, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Tredessa. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Jen.